Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Daily Adler podcast, where we interview Adlerians, get to pick their brains about individual psychology. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Elaine Parker, who's willing to share a bit about her interest in family constellations and how she came to Adlerian theory. So, very nice to meet you, Elaine. We're so happy to have you.
Lovely to meet you too, and to meet all of
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. So, I'd love to just get a sense of like your role in the psychological field, maybe where your career's taken you, the kind of work you do today, just to get to know you a bit better.
Okay. Yeah, well, I discovered Adler when I moved to Wales in 2000 and the end of 2003, beginning of 2004. I thought, well, how can I get to know people? So I thought, well, I know there's a free psychology course down the road, so I'll do that. And that's when I discovered Adler. Bearing in mind that I lived 15 miles away from Lillian Beatty for
Mm.
18 years and I've never heard of her or Adler. So it was really a funny, hang on, what's going on here? So yeah, I discovered Adler when I moved to Wales and I did my Adlerian training in Wales. Currently, I have really three different roles. An Adlerian counsellor, stroke psychotherapist, depending on how you define these things. I supervise students and professionals, and I'm also a trainer. So I do some teaching, some continuing professional development teaching. So I've got quite a wide range of activities, really.
Great. If somebody wanted to take a course of yours, say, or be a supervisee, where could they find you?
We have a couple of directories in the UK, and one is called Counselling Directory, where I'm listed both as a counsellor and a supervisor. I'm also on the UK Adlerian website as both counsellor and supervisor, and NCPS, National, uh, oh gosh, Counselling and Psychotherapy Society in the UK is a kind of umbrella body. That's an ethical body that I belong to. I'm listed on there as well. So
Cool.
and on Facebook. Find me on Facebook. I love Facebook.
Yeah.
I use it a lot.
Yeah, that's where you and I met, Elaine. We met on Facebook, and
Absolutely.
I've
Yeah. I love
enjoyed,
your humor, Dale. I love you always make me laugh. Every day there's something that
yeah,
makes me laugh. I really love to share the good stuff.
well, I've enjoyed the friendship that we've developed on Facebook. Thank you for being so kind to me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mhm.
You too.
Okay, so we really wanted to have you on to hear a bit more about like your passion with family constellations. And you could speak to anything about this, why it's such an interest to you, your favorite concept around it, how you integrate it into your work. We'd love to just hear you chat about it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, when I saw Dale's question a few days ago, what's your kind of favorite Adlerian concept or activity? I reflected for a bit and fairly quickly family constellation came up because it's so broad and vast. Um, so for me, it encompasses birth order, the relationships between siblings, parents, siblings. It's the first social setting of the child. It's the first experience of other people and how we connect with other people or don't. So it's all there. Um, as well as birth order, I usually ask people who's important in their family. So not just the parents, but other significant figures like maybe aunts, uncles, family, friends, grandparents. And for 8.5 years, I worked in schools, and doing it with kids is fascinating because nearly always there was a pet on there
Mm.
or a whole load
That-
of pets.
Right.
My horse is so important to me, or my dog is the only being in my family that loves me. My goldfish. I love my goldfish. So it's the whole constellation is there, and it's fascinating. And I always ask for three questions, three kind of statements, short descriptions, like a word or a short phrase about each person on the constellation.
Mm.
And for me, that gives any similarities, any kind of common themes that come out, like some so and so's loving, grandma's loving, my sister's loving, or everybody's completely different from each other. That's information. It's all information.
Mm.
And if everybody's really different, well, how do you connect with people in your family that you're very different from? So it's just a mine of information. And then once I've done the birth order, And I always ask about, for example, any deaths in siblings or any lost children, any miscarriages, because they're important. Those ghost children are very, very important. And that comes into the family myths, how the family describe those sainted children, who the child can never feel they can catch up with, who's always somewhere up there. So there's so much information to be gained from all of that. And I also look at family atmosphere growing up. What was the weather like in your family? I quite often ask, especially children, was it sunny all the time? Was it a bit tempestuous? Was it unpredictable? What was it like? So then you get a sense of their response to challenges and what they found challenging, what they found overwhelming, what they found strength in. How did they cope with all of that? Was it very calm? So, and then that gives an idea of how they then go forward in life. And then the family values I look at, very, very important as well. What kind of family are we? What kind of child am I in this family? What are the expectations of me? And then family myths and mottos. I was saying before about the sainted child that's died. Is that a myth that they were perfect? Or is it really true? And looking at, so again, coming into expectations and family stories, all of those things that give an idea of the narrative about who we are as a family, what's expected. So it's just rich, really, really rich. Competition. Just saying competition. Yeah.
Well, I like that idea, atmosphere. So you're asking the child about what the emotional atmosphere of the home is.
Yeah.
And I've always seen kids as kind of like the barometer for the home. The kids they're pretty open about and honest about the kind of emotional support they get at home. Is that kind of what you're saying by atmosphere?
Well, yes, absolutely. So yes, support or no, not support. That so many children these days spend time in their rooms on their own, just doom scrolling, as a client of mine describes it, or playing computer games in this completely imaginary world. And they're very isolated from their family. And the parents are also scrolling on their phones, so nobody's connecting, nobody's talking, nobody's really interacting at all. And so that kind of atmosphere can feel very bleak. A different atmosphere can be that we all have our meals together, we go for a swim on a Sunday as a family, we go to the cinema, we sit and have film night, So that atmosphere, it's their growth medium, if that makes any sense. So I'm just thinking about Petri dishes, that kind of, they're in there, and what do they make of it, and how do they manage it? How do they negotiate what they need? Do they keep their needs suppressed, or are they able to say what they need? There's such, again, it's rich, rich, rich. So, and what beliefs the child takes from all of those things. So that beginning to go into that syllogism, those early recollections, I am. In this setting, I am, others are, men are, women are sometimes. Life is, what's life like in this kind of very combative family atmosphere? And then what must you do to manage it all? That's that lifestyle statement. So much comes from family constellation work.
I'm curious about your own family constellation, because in learning all of this, I'm sure that you learned about your own and wanted to apply that. Would you want to share maybe an early positive recollection or something about your own family constellation with us?
Yes, I'm very happy to do that. My own family constellation is something I work with all the time. I use myself as examples quite a lot, So I'm the eldest of 5 children. There's 3 girls, so between each of the girls is 18 months. There's me, then my sister's minus 18 months, my next sister's minus 3 years from me, so 18 months, and then there's a gap of 4 years, and then there's 2 boys. So my 2 boys are 2 years apart, so one of them's 7 years younger than me, and the other one's 9 years younger than me. So when I'm teaching family constellation birth order, I often look at what are the groupings within siblings, if there's several siblings. So am I an eldest of 3 girls, or am I an eldest of 5 children? My youngest sister, is she a youngest, or is she just a youngest of the 3 girls, or is she a middle child? So it's very much looking for that self-description, self-definition. I see myself as, that's a psychological birth order that Adler talked about, as opposed to the chronological. So there can be many different groupings. My first brother, the one who's 7 years younger than mine, I remember once he had a time when he said, I'm the oldest man in this family. I'm the head of this family, which was quite interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So it was quite, I just, oh, okay, are you right, okay. So that's how he saw himself. And so it's just, so again, that psychological concept, that's the concept of myself within that setting. And what I often talk about is that eldest position for me, this is my own stuff, is something that I take with me everywhere. So, I remember when I was being trained as an Adlerian, I used to go into the kitchen and wash up all the cups, after coffee break and make sure everything was in its right, all of that stuff. And eventually I started taking the as I say in the UK, take the mickey out of myself. I'm now a recovering eldest.
That's good.
So I don't do that anymore. You guys are fine. You can wash your own cups. You're perfectly capable. So, it's finding that humor as well. So I'm very aware of that eldest thing coming up when things are happening around me. It was a very chaotic family growing up. So yeah, it was a bit of a safeguarding thing. Only I can solve this. That was a belief of mine for a very long time. And it still pops its head up occasionally. I have to kind of hang on. And as a therapist, I have to really watch it because no, you can solve this. I can hold and give you some ideas, but I'm not going to solve this. So yeah, it has a big impact. Early recollections, I've got many. I've got some I'm not going to give you many, but I've got some very positive ones, which I'm happy to talk about. There's a few more negative ones, which I probably won't. But I'm also a musician. That was my first training. I trained as a musician, classical musician, singing and conducting, and I still do. I conduct a choir and I sing. And so one of my first memories, very young, I was 18 months old, and I was in my grandmother's house, and they were all sitting around the coal fire, flames, the fire was there, quite dim, and there was a little buffet, a little kind of stool thing, and I was standing on this buffet in the middle of all my aunties and my granny and my mum. And I was singing Shall We Dance? And I was spinning around and they were all clapping. So this was wonderful. So there, I'm a performer, I'm a musician. There you go, 18 months. So I was kind of joking and bringing that one up. The other one, a very quick one, 18 months again, around about the same time. One of my memories is that I was leaving home. I was 18 months and I was leaving home. So we lived in an upstairs flat apartment. There was an external staircase. I must have crawled, I don't remember getting down, but I must have crawled down it, standing at the bus stop right next to our house. And all these old ladies saying, what are you doing here? Where are you? What are you doing? Where's your mummy? I said, I'm going to Granny's. And I was absolutely insistent I was going. And the bus came and I tried to climb on the open back of the bus. And that's the end of my memory. So, that kind of, I'm determined, I'm going. And when I was training people using that memory as an example, because I've never thought of this strangely, one of the students said, what was happening in your life at that time? And I thought about this, I thought, my God, it's when my sister was born. I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere where I'm significant, thank you very much.
18 months, you're right, yeah.
Off to grandma's,
incredible. So, it's just the memories as treasure troves, real treasure troves about movement and lifestyle. So, yeah.
Thanks for letting us into some of that, yeah. And I'm already churning, thinking about how, immediately relevant what you were saying about constellations is to, our clinical work.
Yeah. And I as a therapist, I keep I do a genogram, with the circles and the squares and all the different symbols, and I keep that at the front of my file, right through therapy. I refer to it every single session.
With every client, this is an exercise you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just so useful, and looking at discouragement and feeling one down, feeling inferior, looking at competition, being dethroned, all of that stuff. It's there in the lifestyle all the time.
Interesting.
Mm, Fascinating. Any other questions around family constellation, Dale or Shay?
Um,
No, I think that's fascinating. Wait, I could talk about that for a long time. But we had some other questions, didn't we?
Hmm. I suppose, um, if Alfred Adler was with us today, even on this podcast, right? Is there anything you'd want to ask him or simply just say to him to communicate, if we had that access?
Oh, that's quite a good question. It's a big question. I
Mhm.
think, first of all, I'd thank him for his clarity, his
Hmm.
insight on all of that, because, out of the various therapies that I know of, there's something so straightforward and clear and simple language, straightforward language, but the depth of it is
Mhm.
is huge. So just and for bringing me and others that those light bulb moments of understanding. I remember the
Mhm.
first time I heard about Adler and family constellation, the light bulbs all went off, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is
Mhm.
it! I'm
Mhm.
home. This is it. I get this. They get me. This theory gets me, and I get the theory." So yeah,
Mhm.
I think that gratitude to Adler for the clarity and the warmth and the interest and the idea of psychological as opposed to chronological birth order is
Mhm.
really, really important.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of gratitude. I think we all share that. And for bringing us here together
yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Anything on your mind, Shay?
Well, I was curious about what Adlerian book you would recommend. If you had just one of Adler's books to recommend, what would that be?
That's really hard.
I
So
know.
Adler's, well, there's several. I think one of the book that moves me the most that Adler wrote was his final book, Social Interest: A Challenge to Mankind. For many reasons, and it encompasses his theory, his mature look at his theory. It was published in 1933, actually, 4 years before he died. And what happened in 1933 in Germany was
Mhm.
Hitler became chancellor.
Oh, yes.
And that was Adler's response,
Hmm.
which
Interesting.
moves me to tears. It really does. I think it's
Yeah.
just so amazing. And so,
Hmm.
but it encompasses his theory and it's clear. It's far less wordy than the earlier books. The influence of Freud has kind of disappeared. He's very much his own person, but it's so inspiring and so beautiful. But
Mhm.
in modern times, one of the books that I use many books actually, but one of my real go-tos is Calvin Armading's book on the competitive family. I
Mhm.
don't know if you guys have read it.
No.
Sorry, the cooperative family, the opposite of
The corpus,
it's
yeah.
Hmm.
the cooperative family. It's
Mhm.
just such a wonderful book.
Mhm.
And it's clear and it's warm and it's got case studies and it looks at many forms of competition and it links for me so well into that family constellation
Mhm.
work. So, and
Mhm.
of course, many others. I don't want to offend anyone by not mentioning their books, but those are the two kind of really that come to mind straight away.
Those are great
Wow.
recommendations. Thank you. I also wanted to ask you about parenting styles, because you had talked
Yeah,
about that and how they've evolved.
yeah.
Within your practice and your experience, how have you seen parenting evolve? I know that the internet has done a lot to change the way that families interact. What are
Yeah.
some big changes that you're noticing?
Well, oh, gosh, I could go on for hours about parenting and parenting styles. Um, Adler's view and Dreykus's views on parenting, I think, are profound and really encouraging and positive. And there are tools that people can use. It's not just about being like this or doing it's what you can do. And I think that's really positive. I think it's been hijacked by so many people, who are all positive parenting, this and that and the other, and all these nanny types that do podcasts and all of that, and it's all Adler,
Mhm.
it really is, and Dreykus. So I think that it's really important, and those parenting styles are very much part of that atmosphere, those values, those expectations, and they have a profound impact on how we develop as children. Um, there's a huge movement, Adlerian movement on positive parenting, parent education program. There's loads and loads and loads. What is it? League of LEAPT, the
League of Adlerian, extraordinary Adlerian play therapists.
Therapists. There's so much out there. Yeah. And it's wonderful. I'm in touch with various people in the UK and in Ireland. Actually, I have some connections with Ireland as well, who are developing their own parenting programs based on positive discipline. So it's huge. There's a bit of a franchise feeling about positive discipline, certainly, which is very, very helpful. But there are other things as well people are out there doing, and work with teachers, work with people who look social workers, how to encourage children to develop in a positive way. When I was a therapist in school, what I found very often, so I worked in secondary school, so age 11 to 18, and occasionally a little bit younger, we'd get the occasional referral for a child of maybe 7 or 8 years old, and in which case the parents would come in. But in secondary school, the parents didn't come in, and very often the work was undoing really cruel or vicious or ignoring, parenting styles. So I called it parenting by proxy. So teaching the child to parent themselves, what do you need? What can you do to contribute? How do you belong? So it's that not quite as early as Adler said, after the age of 5, but age kind of young teenagers and puberty and all those concepts and all that change that you're navigating is really important. But learning, finding ways to connect. Can you ask your parents if you can have a film night? Can you ask your parents to do film night? What would you like to eat on a film night? And so what can you ask for? Can you just get some popcorn? Just those things, and helping the child approach the parents to looking for connection and making contributions as children.
Collaborative parenting is so important. And a lot of Adlerian theory covers that, where kids should have a part in their family because they are part of the family.
Yeah. Well, it's about contributions. That's where social interest begins.
Cooperation and contribution, yeah.
Absolutely. Rather than spoiling and pampering. Adler's work on pampering was profound. It's so discouraging. The child doesn't learn to do anything for themselves, so they feel discouraged. Or they think, oh, I have staff to do that for me. I don't need to do that. So they go into superiority.
And he talked about this being a danger.
Sorry?
I was just saying, in our world of abundance, it's never been easier to pamper a child, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want my children to have everything I never had.
Yeah.
Careful now. Yeah.
What do you think of Dreiker's 4 mistaken goals of children? What do you think about that? Do you think that's still useful?
I think they're completely useful. And not only for children, I think they stay with us.
Yeah, I think it's good for adults too, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't stop at childhood. I think they're really useful for looking at movement. Adler said trust only movement. So it's not so much what you're thinking and feeling, it's what you're doing. Watch what you're doing. So, and I think that one of the slight problems with it is that it can feel that it's critical of the child.
Good point.
Whereas really we're looking at the misbehavior and looking at what the goals are, what the positive goals are, what the child needs. So misbehavior in itself can sometimes feel like a bit of a critical label.
Good point.
I think,
That's interesting. That shifts it completely. So we're not really looking at the child, we're looking at the adult's response to that behavior, is what we're saying.
Yes, and the adult's response gives a clue to what the child's misbehavior is.
Yes.
Which is fascinating, the impulse that's coming up in the adult. I need to control this child is out of control. Well, really, the child is feeling powerless and is looking for power. So it's just that lovely interaction between the adult and the child that's so useful and important and can be redesigned. Let's do it differently.
And it seems like parents take one of two positions. One is my cat, it's all my kid, all my
Yeah,
child is the problem. I'm okay. Or they
yeah,
take it the other
yeah,
way. I'm completely horrible as a parent. It's because my kid's acting like this,
yeah, yeah.
And it's an interaction of the two, you're saying.
Absolutely.
That's
It's
definitely.
that figure of eight. It's that, okay, well, if you do this, I can respond like that. Or if this is what I see, this is how I can get hurt. Or,
Mhm.
this is how I give up. That
Mhm.
child goes to their room and stays there. And then the parent feels very disappointed and incapable of finding a way to bring them out. So I think it's
Mhm.
definitely a figure of eight. It's an interaction. I don't think it's one or the other.
Figure eight, that's interesting. So you're saying that the interaction is ongoing, so continues
Yeah,
on because figure eight on its side is a symbol for infinity. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's kind of interesting. Huh.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think it is. And interestingly, Calvin came and did a parenting, Calvin and Lindsay came over and did a parenting couples work, and they talked about the figure of eight in the two people in a couple,
Hmm.
and when one's up and when one's down and how it moves. And
Ah.
it's a fascinating concept. And I think
Hmm. Hmm.
it's never static. We're never static. We don't just do one thing or the other. We move all the time.
Shout
Hmm.
out to Emotionally Focused Therapy by Sue Johnson. That's the whole idea that couples react to each other's reactions and go around in these negative circles.
Yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
same with the wonderful oh gosh, my brain, end of a long day. Oh gosh, what's his name? The lovely American guy who talks about who's driving the bus, who's in charge.
Oh
I've
yeah,
forgotten
I
his
don't
name.
I don't know his name either, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Terry Real.
Oh
Oh yeah,
no, that's not who I
emotional
was thinking of,
therapy.
but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I absolutely love Terry Real. He's
Yeah.
wonderful. But
Terry Real, how you spell it? R-E-A-L?
Real, yeah,
Oh,
Terry
okay.
with two R's, yeah,
Okay.
two Terryreal. He's wonderful and he's
Hmm.
so funny. He's got humor, he's got warmth. He's so absolutely spot on.
Hmm.
Really, really lovely.
Would he call himself an Adlerian?
No,
Hmm.
I
But yeah,
don't
he's
think he
using
would call himself that, but I think he has a lot of Adlerian ideas, like many. I mean, Adler
that was
says
the
his
point.
ideas of
Yeah.
common sense is what we all know.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of commonality between Adler's ideas and many other. But I think he's been heavily influenced by TA, transactional
Hmm.
analysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
He uses quite heavily, but he's a joy. He's an absolute joy.
And I find that ironic wherever I go when I'm listening to somebody's theory, they all sound Adlerian to me.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like, that's Adler, that's Adler. And they say,
yeah,
no, no, it's not Adler.
yeah,
And they make fun of me because I say it's Adler, but it
yeah.
is. I
It
mean, it's
It
just so
is.
practical.
Yeah.
It's down to earth, and as Adler himself said, common sense, meaning so not the meaning of common sense to be oh you're very sensible and practical, but common sense is what we all know. It's the sense, the
Mhm.
understanding that's common to all of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
And
talked
he,
about that in
yeah,
our
yeah,
last interview. We had talked about how Adlerian theory is really intuitive. It's something that feels true. You hear it and you go, "Oh my gosh," that light bulb goes off, and you're like, "Wow, that's true. How did I not hear that before? How did I not
yeah,
know that?"
yeah. I think there's a lot of truth in what he said, and that's what I really feel grateful about is that insight and that warmth and kindness. I think that's a really important part of being an Adlerian is being encouraging and yes, we can be a bit. I think use the priorities quite a lot. Nero
Mhm.
Kafir's work, and mine is superiority, so I can be very superior occasionally. Quite often, my husband would probably say, but yeah, yeah, we are Adlerians. We're not just any old therapists. We're Adlerians.
That's right. Well, you got to, all of us have to feel superior in some area. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it helps our inferiority. So,
So it's moving away from that inferiority. Oh, that
yeah,
slippery pole, not staying
yeah,
up there for long.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mm.
Wow.
Okay,
So I'm
maybe
feeling pretty
I'm
good about this, Adam. What are you thinking? Think we're pretty done now, or do you want to?
I'd say so. I know just Shay had one more question about like
Okay.
maybe
Oh, that's right.
encouraging like a
I
healthy habit.
Yes. What do
Yes.
you do to sort of unwind every day? What do you do to help your mental health?
Um, I I sing. I don't do it every day, but I sing in a choir. I live in Wales, so I travel to Swansea. It's about an hour and a quarter in the car, which I know doesn't seem very far to you guys, but it's like I sing, I watch TV. Sometimes I really unwind if I watch rubbish TV, really cookery programs, and but I love watching programs about. There's one called Long Lost Families. I don't know if you get it in the States. It's a wonderful program where, for example, babies adopted at birth try and find their real parents, and all these reunions, and I just cry buckets all the way through. And it's great. And I like watching. There's a series called Everwood, which is American, which we're watching at the moment, which is just lovely. And yeah, I watch quite a lot of TV because we live in the middle of nowhere. I play with my dogs. I love my dogs, as you've probably seen on Facebook. I see friends. I like to eat. I like to cook. Just, basic things.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so wholesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
You said you like the rubbish, so you like Mr. Bean and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I
Oh
love
gosh, yes.
Mr. Bean.
And
Yeah.
I love Mr. Bean. And I don't know if you have Only Fools and Horses and
Oh, I haven't
Faulty
heard of that one.
Towers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Faulty Towers.
Oh, Faulty.
With
Yeah, Faulty Towers. Yeah.
Faulty Towers and all that stuff. But I love to listen to music, and I don't do enough of it actually. And I love women, spirituality with women, Hildegard of Bingen and Teresa of Avila and Julian of Norwich, and all those medieval women mystics really fascinate me. So, yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Awesome.
Wow.
Well, Elaine, you are so wise. Thanks for parting with your knowledge onto us today and our listeners. And again, if anybody wants to get to know Elaine a bit better, perhaps you could take her training or reach out to her by these various methods.
Do.
Yeah, okay. And as always, general call to other Adlerians. If you feel like you'd like to have your brain picked, reach out to NASAP, the Daily Adler team, and we'd love to meet you. Okay, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely to spend time with you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.